It's my pleasure to introduce the next presenter, Peter Bradford, who is the Managing Director and CEO of Independence Group.
Thanks, Natalia. One small correction, I'm no longer on the committee of the WA Mining Club, but still passionate about what they do. And it's great to be here once again, having this chat with you about IGO at this year's Pay Dirt Nickel and Lithium conference. And it's going to be fantastic to talk to you about all of the things we've done since last year's Pay Dirt Nickel and Gold conference. So some of those things that I'll talk about are our outstanding operational and financial delivery over the course of the last year. I'll also talk about that transformation of the portfolio, investing in lithium with our joint venture with Tianqi, and some of the palpable upside that exists at both the Greenbushes and Kwinana assets. And then I'll also talk about our enduring commitment to growth, building an iconic culture, and to ESG. But first, let's talk about our strategy, which is all connected with clean energy metals. And when we're talking about clean energy metals, we're talking about renewable energy generation, talking about energy storage, and we're talking about the electrification of transport, and it's all of the metals that are required to do that. And IGO is delivering some 4 metals that are important to this equation: nickel, copper, cobalt, and lithium. Just focusing a little bit on the electrification of vehicles and to reinforce some of the things that Angela said early. Over the course of this decade, we expect to see a compound annual growth rate for lithium-ion batteries of 25% per annum. That's huge. Any business where you've got a 25% compound annual growth rate, it's happy days. And what that means for the metals involved is we've got a similar growth, and what moves metal price is that demand around the margins, and that demand for metals into EV, into grid-scale energy storage, and to renewable energy is what's going to move the price around the margins. But it could all be a lot better than that. If we look back over what's happened in the last 6 years, we've seen a compound annual growth rate for plug-in EV of 55%, so that's outpacing those future projections that we talked about. It's outpacing the projections that Angela gave. And year to date, to the end of August, we've seen 150% growth relative to 2020. So things are moving a lot faster, and the challenge will be maintaining that supply to keep this monster growing at the rate that it's growing. And the risk is that the minerals industry holds the evolution back. At IGO, our focus is our strategic focus is to be a globally relevant supplier of these metals, and we do this because we want to make a difference and we want to help create a better planet. In this space, we're producing a diversified suite of products. We do that safely, reliably, sustainably. We are customer focused. We want to use vertical integration. We want to go downstream so that we can be connected with our customers. We want to be carbon neutral. And as I said earlier, we want to have a continuing focus on people, building that iconic culture. Along the way, we've transformed our business, transformed the portfolio. We're continuing to transform our culture and continuing to transform what we do in the sustainability and ESG space. I'm not going to focus on all of this slide, just 2 points. It's what we've done over the last 12 months to transform the business through that investment in the lithium business with Tianqi, and what we've done in the process of doing that to let go of the nut and to sell out of gold, to part fund the transaction with Tianqi, but also to complete our evolution to be 100% focused on clean energy metals. What that leaves us with is a high quality portfolio. Nova, I'll talk about later on today. Most people in the room would be familiar with that. We've also added the 2 lithium assets, the vertically integrated lithium business comprising Greenbushes and Kwinana, and then we've got a portfolio of belt scale exploration projects across Australia and in Greenland focused on exploration for nickel and copper. And when you've got high quality assets, you get fantastic financial outcomes. And this is the financial outcomes for IGO over the last 6 years. Every year we've seen improvement in our key financial metrics, delivering record revenue, record net profit after tax, and record free cash flow for the recently completed financial year. So let's talk to what's delivering those record financial outcomes. And primarily over the last few years, it's been all about Nova. And great photo here of Nova. In the foreground, you can see the box cut hosting the portal. And in the midground, you can see the processing plant and the associated infrastructure. In the processing plant, we produce two concentrates, a copper concentrate, which goes to offshore smelters, and we produce a nickel cobalt concentrate, which goes variably to local smelters or offshore smelters. For the last financial year, Nova continued to deliver great outcomes. We exceeded metal production guidance for all metals, and we delivered lower cash costs than what we guided. In fact, we continue to be the lowest cash cost nickel producer in Australia. You can see some of that performance there for the 4 quarters of FY21, consistent metal production, improving cash costs, benefiting from the tailwinds that we saw during the year with improving copper and cobalt byproduct credit pricing, which helps to improve our cash costs per payable pound of nickel. We then, on the right-hand chart, we show our performance for the 4 years since we commenced commercial production at Nova in July 2017, and we've seen improving financial metrics for the mine in every single one of those years, culminating in delivery of $393 million of free cash flow from Nova for FY21. That brings our project to date free cash flow from Nova to just under $1.1 billion. A fantastic asset, and everyone should have one of these. One of the reasons we continue to get those improving financial outcomes is that we put a lot of focus early on into de-risking the ore body. So right up front, we invested in life of mine grade control, de-risk the resource. We also put a lot of money into all of our capital development up front and substantially completed that capital development and de-risked ongoing operations. So now very much today, Nova is in harvest mode and it's a cash cow, as we saw from the financial results. Going forward, we continue to work with Barminco, who continue to do a fantastic job at Nova to implement smart solutions underground, and we're also implementing smart solutions on surface, and the focus there is in delivering better safety outcomes, better productivities and lower costs. In parallel, we're continuing to improve our carbon footprint. You would have seen from the chart that Angela had that we're already one of the best in Australia when it comes to carbon intensity, and we're leveraging off some of the work we did in 2019 with our partner Zenith Energy, where we put in place a solar farm at Nova. Last year, that contributed 11% of our total energy requirements at Nova. And this year, we have 4 key Scope 1, Scope 2 emission reduction programs that we are implementing that will reduce our carbon footprint by another 10%. In parallel, we're working on a number of research projects, strategic projects to assess grid-scale energy storage solutions we can implement on the mine, collaborating with others around electrification of fleet underground, and also working towards wind energy solutions. We want to be prepared so that when we get that next step change in mine life at Nova as a result of our ongoing exploration activities, that we know what we want to do to continue to reduce our carbon footprint. Around Nova, we have an ongoing program of work there over the last few years to understand the geology. We've done a lot of regional geochem, regional geophysics. We've identified the targets, and each of those orange tiles around that near mine Nova footprint is a target that we're drill testing in FY22. The two that our people Ian Sandel, he's here today. Come and talk to him at the booth. The two that our people get the most excited about are Orion, which is about 4 or 5 kilometres to the northeast of the Nova processing plant, and Chimera, which sits about 10 kilometres southwest of the Nova processing plant. And we have ongoing activities on both of those, and we can continue to get more and more encouraging results. Nova obviously sits in a larger footprint, what we call the Fraser Range, and we have a significant tenement package there. And again, over the last few years, we've done the hard yards, we've done the regional geochem, the regional geophysics to understand the tenement package that we've got. We've transitioned into from target generation to target evaluation. And again, each of these orange tiles identifies a target that we will be drill testing during FY22. When we started this journey, the only known discovery on the belt was Nova, but we had the conviction that there were more Novas to be found. And it's great to see the outcomes by Legend at Mawson, and we'll hear from Oliver Kitty shortly, with their discovery. And it's great to see the discovery by Mark Creasy at Silver Knight. All of this goes to validate our conviction that this will turn into a nickel province. At Silver Knight, we recently announced a transaction to buy it. Buy the Silver Knight deposit, and also enter into a exploration joint venture with the tenement package that Mark Creasy had around Silver Knight. We expect to close that transaction shortly, and then we'll spend the next year doing the permitting, the studies that we need to do for Silver Knight, and then aim to start development and bring that into production from 2023. Just quickly turning for a short discussion on the lithium assets. Our joint venture with Tianqi, and I just want to dwell momentarily on this photo. It's a great photo. Before I went down for my first due diligence visit at Greenbushes, I had no comprehension of the scale of the operation. And when I went down there, it really blew me away. The scale blew me away. But as I'll show on one of the coming slides, that scale is going to get a lot bigger. Through the transaction with Tianqi, we end up with a 25% indirect interest in Greenbushes, and it is the world's lowest cost, highest grade hard rock lithium mine. And we also get a 49% interest in the Kwinana lithium hydroxide plant, and it'll be the first of its kind in Australia, with Albemarle following closely behind at Kemerton. I talked about that expansion potential at Greenbushes. We have 1.2 million tonnes of spodumene production capacity installed at the moment, and then we have 3 phases of expansion projects over the next few years that more than double that chemical grade spodumene concentrate production capacity. On top of that, and not shown on the page, is an enduring 150,000 tonne per year of what we call technical grade spodumene that's produced to specifications required by customers in the glass and ceramics industry. That's a premium product, and it attracts a premium price, and Greenbushes is only one of 2 projects globally that produce such a product. That IGO Tianqi share of spodumene from Greenbushes, first call on that is at the Kwinana lithium hydroxide refinery. There we have 2 plants at various stages of progress. The first plant, what we call Train 1, is in commissioning, and I'll talk about status of commissioning on the next slide. The second train, Train 2, is partway through construction. Construction is in hibernation at this stage. We're waiting till we get Train 1 progressed along the commissioning journey, and then we expect to commence construction again on Train 2 in 2022 and be commissioning in 2024. Beyond that, there's 2 further trains which we're yet to do the studies on and are yet to publish the start dates. Looking in more detail at that Train 1 progress, we recently announced a production of first lithium hydroxide in August, and the next step is to go from a batch operation, which we had that produced that first product, and into a continuous operation, and then to progressively improve product quality, delivering a chemical grade product in the December quarter, and then a battery grade product by March next year, and then after that continuing to ramp production up to nameplate capacity by December 2022. Growth and transformation is an enduring commitment for IGO, and we see growth and transformation having three pillars. One is what we do in the inorganic space to identify disciplined and accretive inorganic opportunities. The second is what we do on the exploration side to unlock over the long term transformative value for shareholders through exploration. And the third that I'll talk to momentarily is around what we can do through vertical integration to unlock more value for our shareholders through downstream processing. On the exploration side, we have, as I said before, a portfolio of belt-scale exploration projects across Australia, focused on nickel and copper exploration. And this year, once again, we're investing $65 million into exploration and discovery. We focus on two types of deposits. We focus on high-value magmatic nickel sulfide types, and we focus on high-value SED-hosted copper types. And we've got developed over time a pipeline of greenfields exploration opportunities. And if we take the nickel side of what we're doing as an example, we've got a mature portfolio on the Fraser Range where we are beyond target generation. We're testing targets. In the Kimberleys, we're at that target generation stage, and we would envisage going to target testing in calendar 23. And then in the Northern Territory, we've got two projects which are at a very early stage of engagement with the traditional owners. That third pillar that I talked about, downstream processing, we're already a downstream processor through the Tianqi JV and what we're doing at Kwinana. We have an aspiration to also take our nickel business downstream. That aspiration has been there for some time, and through it, we've identified what we call the IGO process. We started this journey by looking at that emerging demand for nickel sulfate into electric vehicle batteries. And we said to ourselves, well, if you're going to go from nickel sulfide concentrate to nickel sulfate, maybe there's a smarter way of doing it than going from nickel sulfide concentrate to nickel metal and then to nickel sulfate. So we developed the IGO process. It delivers high metal extractions for both nickel and copper. That's important for us at IGO. It has lower cost and it has lower emissions and lower waste. And we continue our journey to identify more longer dated nickel supply to be able to realise this aspiration of going downstream and becoming vertically integrated in the nickel space. I'll just finish with a few words on sustainability and ESG. Very important to us at IGO. It's part of the fabric of our business, and over the last 6 years, since 2015, we've been producing annual sustainability reports. And every year, we've worked to improve continuously the practices within the business, and we've worked continuously to improve the quality and the transparency of our disclosures. And along the journey, we've been able to obtain global recognition for what we do, and some of that global recognition is shown there on the slide. In this year's sustainability report, we talked tactically to how we implement our decarbonisation aspiration, and we talked about some of the things we're doing in the business today, and the key elements there are adopting an internal carbon price. That provides the funding for those Scope 1 and 2 emissions reduction programs at Nova that I talked about before. It also provides the funding for us to invest in carbon removal and offset programs to fully offset the carbon that we're generating at Nova. And we look forward to updating everyone on that over the course of the next 12 months. In parallel, we're doing that work to understand our controllable Scope 3 emissions. Another part of what we do focus on in the sustainability and ESG space is our people. And it's all about attracting, developing and retaining the very best people and delivering or developing and fostering that next generation of industry leaders. So to summarise, to talk about what we prioritise in the coming 12 months, it's all about bringing our lithium JV to account. It's continuing to do what we've done in the past at Nova. It's maintaining our commitment on exploration and discovery to unlock value, while also having a parallel work stream to identify disciplined, accretive M&A opportunities, and at the same time continuing that investment in people to develop an iconic culture, as well as continuing to invest in sustainability and building that into the fabric of what we do and reducing our carbon footprint. Thank you very much.